You didn't choose your opinions. An algorithm did. Every scroll, every click, every pause on a video, it's all being recorded. Not to serve you, to shape you. Right now, as you watch this, a system more powerful than any government, more pervasive than any religion, is deciding what information reaches your brain and what gets buried forever. You are not browsing the internet. The internet is browsing you. And the worst part, you think you're making free choices. You think your feed reflects your interests, but your feed reflects what they want you to see. Control your mind, profit. This isn't paranoia. This is documented fact. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the most sophisticated manipulation system in human history works and who's pulling the strings. The invisible cage. Imagine walking into a library where someone has already removed 90% of the books. Not randomly, strategically. They've studied you. They know what makes you angry, what makes you afraid, what keeps you scrolling. Now imagine that library is the only source of information you have access to. That's your social media feed. In 2024, the average person spends nearly 7 hours a day consuming digital media. 7 hours of algorithmically curated content. Not curated for truth, not curated for balance, curated for engagement. And engagement, as the engineers who built these systems will tell you, is driven by one thing above all else: emotional reaction. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. But it goes deeper than that. You're not just the product, you're the experiment. Every recommendation is a test. Every click confirms a hypothesis. Every share teaches the algorithm exactly which buttons to push to keep you inside their invisible cage. And the cage is comfortable. That's what makes it so effective. You don't feel trapped because the bars are made of content you think you chose. But this leads us to the architecture behind this prison. Engagement machine. Here's what the engineers discovered. Anger keeps you watching longer than happiness. Outrage generates more shares than inspiration. Fear drives more clicks than curiosity. So what do you think the algorithm serves you more of? A former Facebook executive admitted publicly that they knew they were creating tools that were ripping apart the social fabric of society. He said he felt tremendous guilt. Then he cashed his stock options and left. The system isn't broken, it's optimized. Optimized for what? Time on platform, ad revenue, data harvesting. Your mental health, your worldview, your relationships, these aren't part of the equation. They're externalities, collateral damage. The average person now has an attention span of 8 seconds, down from 12 seconds in 2000, shorter than a goldfish. This isn't evolution. This is engineering. They've literally rewired your brain to need constant stimulation, constant novelty, constant validation. If this pattern is starting to disturb you, hit like and subscribe to keep exposing what they hide. Because what comes next reveals who really controls the machine, who owns your feed. 5 companies control what 7 billion people see, read, and believe. Google, Meta, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft. That's it. 5 corporations based in a 30-mile radius in California deciding what information reaches every corner of the planet. Think about that for a moment. 5, more concentrated power over human thought than any empire, any church, any ideology in history. And unlike governments, they don't have constitutions. They have terms of service, terms you never read but agree to anyway, terms that give them the right to change the rules whenever they want. In 2020, these platforms made decisions about what information was true and what was misinformation. Not scientists, not journalists, software engineers and content moderators in their 20s, deciding what 8 billion people were allowed to discuss. Power without accountability. The Roman Catholic Church at its height didn't have this kind of reach. The Soviet Union's propaganda machine was primitive by comparison. And at least those institutions were transparent about their agenda. These companies hide behind the myth of neutrality, while their algorithms pick winners and losers in the marketplace of ideas. But the question nobody asks is, who's paying them to pick? The filter bubble. In 2011, Eli Pariser warned the world about filter bubbles, personalized information ecosystems that trap us in our own beliefs. Everyone laughed, called him paranoid. 14 years later, we live in a society where people can't agree on basic facts, where families are torn apart over politics, where 2 people looking at the same event see completely different realities. We're all living in different countries, called Facebook. This isn't an accident, it's a feature. Divided people engage more, angry people click more, Frightened people share more. The algorithm doesn't care about truth, it cares about metrics. A study from MIT found that false news spreads 6 times faster than true news on social media, not because people are stupid, because the algorithm amplifies what gets engagement, and lies are more engaging than truth. They're more novel, more emotional, more shareable. Your phone is literally rewiring your brain for conflict. The result? A population that can't distinguish between news and propaganda, that trusts algorithms more than journalists, that forms opinions based on headlines written by AI to maximize clicks. And this brings us to something even more disturbing: manufactured reality. Here's the question that should keep you up at night. How do you know what you know? Really think about it. Every major news story you've formed an opinion about, where did that opinion come from? Did you investigate personally? Did you read primary sources? Or did you absorb a narrative that was served to you, algorithmically optimized for your demographic profile? Your worldview was assembled by machines you've never seen. The algorithm knows your political leaning, your income level, your education, your fears, your desires. It knows what time of day you're most vulnerable to emotional content. It knows exactly which stories will keep you scrolling and which will make you look away. In this environment, manufacturing consent isn't even necessary. The system manufactures it automatically. No conspiracy required. Just incentive structures doing exactly what they were designed to do. Reality itself becomes a product. Different realities for different markets. Premium reality for those who can afford to opt out. Algorithmic reality for everyone else. The ancient rulers controlled what people could say. The modern rulers control what people can see. And what you can't see, you can't think about. But there's something they don't want you to understand about how this control operates. The attention economy. Your attention is the most valuable resource in the modern economy. More valuable than oil. More valuable than gold. Because whoever controls your attention controls your decisions, your beliefs, your actions. And right now, the most powerful AI systems ever created are engaged in a zero-sum war for every second of your focus. Your attention, their profit. Every app on your phone is designed by experts in behavioral psychology. Notifications are timed for maximum interruption. Infinite scroll removes the natural stopping points your brain needs. Variable reward schedules, the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive, keep you pulling down to refresh. This isn't technology. This is cognitive warfare. As the brilliant philosopher William James said, "My experience is what I agree to attend to." But you're not agreeing anymore. Your attention is being extracted, harvested, sold to the highest bidder. And the bidders aren't just advertisers. They're governments, ideologues, anyone with enough money to buy your eyeballs for a few seconds. The average person now checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes during waking hours. Each check is a tiny surrender of autonomy to a machine that doesn't care about your well-being. But wait, because what comes next changes everything about how you see your daily habits. The real customers. Let's follow the money. Where does it actually come from? Facebook made over $116 billion last year, almost all of it from advertising. But not just any advertising. Targeted advertising. Micro-targeted advertising based on the most intimate details of your life. They know when you're pregnant before you tell your family. They know when you're depressed. They know when your relationship is failing. They know when you're vulnerable to impulse purchases. Surveillance, that's what this is. Corporate surveillance disguised as a free service. And the data doesn't stay with the platforms. There's an entire shadow industry of data brokers, companies you've never heard of that buy, sell, and trade your personal information. Your browsing history, your location data, your purchase patterns, your health searches, all packaged and sold without your meaningful consent. You signed away your privacy in terms of service you never read. A single data broker was caught selling the precise location data of people visiting abortion clinics. Another sold the data of military personnel to foreign buyers. This information doesn't just power ads. It powers manipulation at a scale our grandparents couldn't have imagined. And speaking of manipulation, what if I told you the algorithms can predict your behavior before you even know what you'll do? Predictive control. The algorithms don't just track what you do, they predict what you'll do next, and increasingly they shape it. This is called predictive analytics, and it's been refined to an almost supernatural precision. They know what you'll want before you want it. In 2012, Target identified a teenage girl was pregnant based solely on her shopping patterns before her father knew. That was over a decade ago. Imagine what they can do now with thousands of times more data and exponentially more powerful AI. The models don't just predict behavior, they influence it. They know exactly which stimulus will produce which response. Show this video to make someone angry. Show this ad to make someone buy. Show this news story to make someone afraid. Repeat until the desired behavior emerges. The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads. A former Facebook data scientist said that. The people who could be solving climate change or curing diseases are instead optimizing click-through rates, because that's where the money is. Prediction becomes control, and when prediction becomes precise enough, the line between predicting behavior and creating it disappears entirely. This brings us to our next revelation about who's actually steering these predictive systems. The hidden handlers. So who actually decides what the algorithm promotes? The answer is more disturbing than you might think. Not the engineers. They just build the tools. Not the executives. They just set the profit targets. The real decisions are made by a combination of automated systems and anonymous moderators scattered across the globe. Content moderators in the Philippines. AI training farms in Kenya. Algorithmic weights set by teams who answer to shareholders, not citizens. No one is in charge, and everyone is. When Congress brought Mark Zuckerberg to testify, it was obvious the senators barely understood how the technology worked. The people who do understand it can't control it. The feedback loops are too fast. The interactions too complex. The system has developed emergent behaviors no one designed or intended. Meanwhile, governments have figured out they can use these platforms for their own purposes. China has its own controlled internet. Russia runs troll farms. Even democratic governments quietly pressure platforms to suppress certain narratives. The line between private platform and state propaganda tool gets blurrier every day. And the platforms don't resist, because authoritarian markets are still markets, because access to billions of users is worth a few compromises on human rights. But there's one final piece to this puzzle that ties everything together. Reclaim your mind. So what do you do when the most powerful information systems in history are designed to exploit you? First, you recognize it. Awareness is the crack in the matrix. You're watching this video, which means some part of you already knows something is wrong. That instinct is correct. Trust it. The first step to freedom is recognizing your chains. Second, you actively diversify your information diet. Read books. Physical books that can't be algorithmically edited. Seek out sources that challenge your existing beliefs, not to change them, but to test them. Anything that can't survive scrutiny doesn't deserve your belief. Third, reclaim your attention. Turn off notifications. Set time limits. Create spaces in your day where no algorithm can reach you. Your attention is your most precious resource. Stop giving it away for free. Think for yourself, and let others enjoy the privilege of doing so too. The system is powerful, but it only works if you participate. Every time you choose what to read instead of letting it be chosen for you, you strike a small blow for cognitive liberty. Every time you question a headline instead of reacting to it, you weaken the manipulation machine. Your mind, your choice. The algorithm can only control what you're allowed to think if you let it. And now you know. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Every point of this video connects to one undeniable truth. You are living in the most sophisticated manipulation environment ever created. Not by conspiracy, by incentive, by systems designed to maximize engagement at any cost to truth, to your well-being, to democracy itself. The algorithm doesn't control what you're allowed to think by force. It controls it by drowning you in information designed to trigger reactions, not reflection. In the attention economy, your mind is the battlefield. But here's what they don't want you to understand. The machine only has power because you feed it. Every mindless scroll, every emotional share, every reactive click, that's the fuel. Cut the fuel and the machine starves. You can't opt out of the digital age, but you can opt into awareness. You can choose critical thinking over algorithmic recommendation. You can demand better of the platforms and of yourself. If you made it this far, comment algorithm, aware, to prove you're among those who refuse to have their thoughts curated by machines. Question everything, trust nothing. Every government lies. Every corporation manipulates. Every algorithm serves its creators, not you. The question is, now that you see it, what will you do differently? Until next time, think for yourself, or someone else will do it for you. Power fears informed citizens. Be the citizen they fear. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to wake up.